Hello and welcome to Steps to Maths. In this particular video we're going to be having a look at what it is we do on the Masterclasses courses. And to recap what we had a look at in terms of the content, some of the content that we had was about memory techniques and study skills. And I introduced you to Dr. Bjork and the Mind Tools website in a previous video to have a discussion of some of the memory techniques and study skills that we use. Now the benefits of having good memory skills and good study skills is not purely for exams, but mostly it's actually for learning new material. And the purpose of having these skills is not just purely to study them in isolation, but it's a matter of learning effectively. So we want to learn how to learn efficiently, so we want to get the maximum benefit from the effort that we're putting in. So that was an introduction that I gave you on memory techniques and study skills and the benefits that will provide. So let's have a look at the actual content. So the Masterclass content will be based on the Junior Cert, or it actually is the Junior Cert course content, and will be following the new Project Maths, which has been around for a number of years now. So just a discussion about what Project Maths is. The traditional method of doing maths, which you may have done yourself, would be to learn the tools and then apply them to various made-up problems which were there basically in order for you to use those tools. The Project Maths method is going to be slightly different. The approach is going to be again to learn the tools and then try and apply them to realistic problems. And the idea is that you can break down the problems and approach them with the tools that you have. But that's not significantly different. The course, as I said, will be the Junior Cert course content, and the method that we're going to be using will be, again, very similar. It'll be covering the Project Maths Junior Cert course content, but we'll be considering, firstly, what are the problems, considering how maybe we can solve them, and considering the various approaches that we can have to solving a particular problem, and allowing students to discuss this among themselves on a forum. Following discussion, then we can look at the tools that we need, or during discussion and as consideration of how to solve a problem, we will look at the tools that we need. Now the consequence for memory on this, and the reason, the really big reason for having a look at memory and study skills and having good memory, is in order to try and figure out what tools we can use to solve a particular problem, we need to have those tools in our memory ready to use on a particular problem. So that's very much the basis for the memory skills and why we're going to be integrating that into the course. Now, once we kind of figure out what tools we need to solve a problem, we break these down as the basic skills. And as I showed in a previous video, we had an example in terms of algebra. And I showed how the skills for solving perhaps formulas and equations would be broken down into sub-skills and into a finely graded skill level, so that you can practice a particular level, and when you get an understanding of that you can move on to the next level. So the skills are provided with the skills training is provided with automatic feedback and revision scheduling in order to maximize your learning. So the skills themselves are at a finely graded skill level, but the automatic feedback is really a really important aspect of teaching that's actually quite difficult to implement in class context in order to make sure that students are progressing. This is one of the main benefits of using a computer in order to provide training, because it can provide automatic, immediate feedback, letting a student know that they're on track. And feedback is one of the most important aspects of learning and how people learn. The revision scheduling, as I said before, is another important aspect, and that's part of memory, learning, and retaining information. The way we're going to be teaching this is through bite-sized video-based teaching. So when the skills are broken down, we address the problems through a video question, we consider how to solve them through a video question, and we're provided with approaches and discussions on a forum. When the skills are broken down into basic skills, those skills can be practiced in your own time, with automatic feedback, as I said, and with help and information on how to solve each particular level within that with bite-sized video-based training. But to come back to the revision scheduling, let's have a look at that. I may have discussed before that the purpose of revision is the reward of having knowledge that lasts. So sensory memory is the part of memory that allows us just to see things going around us, and it only lasts momentarily. You can only keep a certain amount of information in there before you get it. You require attention in order to move things to short-term memory. Having the attention that we're providing will be through anchoring and various other techniques in order to improve motivation and attention skills, allowing you to move information to short-term memory, where you can begin to understand and solve problems. The important piece then will be to move that information to long-term memory so that you have that information permanently. So let's have a look at how that happens. Let's have a look at recall after learning. The interesting thing here with this particular graph is that recall actually increases slightly after learning. So after a 10-minute break, you will actually remember more about learning than you did at the end of a particular session, which is interesting. Unfortunately, however, what happens then is that the recall gradually drops away, and eventually very little of that information is left, and you would become confused about the topic that you were looking at. So that's the purpose of our revision, and the automatic revision is to provide the scheduled learning that you need in order to maintain that information. And this graph actually doesn't really sort of get the idea of this. The revision that you're doing, and you do it at particular times, a day, a week, a month, 3 months and 6 months, allows your ability to recall things that you've learned, but it also allows you to build on knowledge. So this upwards and outwards aspect is an important part of this as well. So, as I've mentioned on the discussion in terms of learning memory techniques and study skills, a lot of people know this information, a lot of teachers know this information, but the difference between knowing the information is between knowing it and using it in a particular class. So that's the benefit of having this on a course, and the idea of the course is that you've got guidance about what this information is and how to implement that information in the work that you do until it becomes part of how you learn and how you work. So let's just jump back again to the revision information, the recall after learning, and there's a flip side to this as well. As well as having the information gradually going into long-term storage, as you can see, that information is stored over longer and longer periods of times and eventually becomes long-term knowledge that you hold. So your recall increases. That allows you to learn more and more. But the other aspect of this is your learning becomes faster and faster. So your revision will take less time and will also become more effective. So I may have laboured the point slightly on the skills, but it's an important aspect part of it. So let's have a look at just the maths now. Maths, in my mind, is essentially a working model of understanding that allows us to approach particular problems using specific tools. So I've discussed that we're going to be approaching the problems, considering how to do problems, using the project maths idea, of looking at problems and then breaking them down and considering them. But we also have the skills that we're going to be learning, and a method of making sure that we can maximize the benefit we get from learning those skills. But in order to have a working model of understanding, we need to gradually get an idea of how all the pieces fit together. Now, what students will often find is they get partial information about things, and some of this information may be slightly contradictory, which makes it quite difficult to fit it together into their previous understanding of maths. It's like having a jigsaw where all the pieces aren't quite right, which is frustrating and results in students giving up. However, the teachers that we have do have a full model of understanding of the maths that we're going to be looking at the junior cert. And what that means is we can explain the maths in a way that makes sure that fits together properly. It means that we're coherent, it means that we're consistent all the way across through the range of skills of maths that we're going to be looking at. So, to summarise what we're going to be doing on the course. We're going to be looking at study skills, and those study skills are going to be integrated into the course. It's not going to be a one-off, here's your study skills, best of luck with that. It's integrated into the course to ensure that those skills are built up and learnt and improve and work for you. We're going to be looking at memory skills, and again, it's going to be implementation of memory skills on a consistent basis on a course. Now, these skills take time to learn. It's a skill. And when you're trying to learn things with memory skills, when you start off, it actually takes quite a long time. It takes a good bit of effort. However, over time, that effort takes less and less effort to implement the memory techniques and study skills that we're going to be using, until eventually it takes only minutes to learn, and then eventually it becomes virtually instantaneous. In terms of the maths, we're going to be following a problem-centric approach, which means we're going to be focusing on problems, considering how to approach them, considering the maths that we need in order to solve the problems, and we're providing a platform that allows you to do this easily, that allows you to discuss issues on a forum, allows me to provide assignments, allows a student to provide feedback and give their assignments back again, and allows me to provide continual feedback and guidance on a daily, weekly, monthly basis that ensures that you're on track and ensures that you make progress. So just what I was saying about the skills that we're going to be learning, do they take effort? And yes, obviously learning new things is difficult, but we want to consider where we need to be putting the effort in. Do we want to be putting the effort in up front or effort in at the end? And when you put the effort in up front, in learning these techniques, in learning these skills and applying them on a consistent basis to what we have to learn, you will find that it takes less effort overall. And as a result, you get faster and faster at things. It takes less time to revise. Your memory skills become faster and faster until they're virtually instantaneous. Your revision takes less and less time because we're using skills to break the revision down into particular pieces, quick ways of revising, instead of the usual method of effort at the end where students are revising the entire course from scratch, which just doesn't make sense. If you revise properly, you can revise faster and faster. It takes less and less time. You become faster and faster in revision. You become more capable of learning new material based on all that information that you already have, and basically you're going to have more success. So I hope you like the idea of this program. I hope you enjoy working on it. I hope that you put the effort in and realize the success that you're going to have with this. So enjoy the course. Thank you.